I thought we'd just ask about how you're preparing students, instead of going to those finance, consulting, traditional jobs, to entrepreneurial jobs to help feed our ecosystem.
I can start with something fairly simple. We started a design entrepreneurship program through the incubator, partnering with the Center for Continuing and Professional Studies. And each of our departments was feeling as if they weren't necessarily, they were teaching our students to be artists and designers, but not necessarily business people. And people were graduating without the skills that they needed to necessarily do that. And now what we've done is, through CCPS, develop an entrepreneurship curriculum that they can take alongside their major. So instead of creating redundancy in each one of the departments, there's a place that they can go after and get the information that they need when they need it. And I think that's a big shift for us. The nice thing is that the Pratt Design Incubator was able to design the program using the experience it has had working with companies over the past 10 years. So we really understand what the designer in particular needs. So it's not a generic program, but very focused on the skill sets that the designers have versus the skill sets that they really don't have and haven't gotten. And so I think that's one of the ways that we're able to kind of optimize it and put it out there for our students and our alumni who've left and now need to catch up. I mean, a lot of times people are forced to be entrepreneurs. We're in a financial situation where you don't have a choice. You can't find a job. And how do you turn that around into something really beneficial?
I mean, I'll just for Columbia. Yeah, if you tweet it, Eric, you'll actually get the question.
ENTN, hashtag ENTNYC, and I'll ask him.
He may call on you anyway.
We got Eric next.
I think in many of the institutions in New York City, you'll find that people are not radically changing the entire structure of the university in order to put entrepreneurship front and center in every discipline. And some of the principles that make people great entrepreneurs or great bankers or great consultants or great teachers or doctors or whatever else you choose to do with your life come back to the same basic solid education in liberal arts or in engineering or medical school. That having been said, there are classes all over the university, in particular at the business school. So as I mentioned, Vince runs the Entrepreneurship Center there. But there are classes within most of the schools at Columbia to try and teach entrepreneurship. For semester-long classes, there's entrepreneurship minors in the engineering school. So you're seeing more of the formal classroom education for entrepreneurship popping up. But I think what you're also seeing is the universities being aware that not all the resources lie within their own walls. And so trying to connect their students to other opportunities like eLab, which Eric and Mary run, and maybe you can talk about later, but trying to recognize where some of the education is not going to happen in the classroom. It's going to happen out in the street when you're trying to build your company, or doing internships in local startups. Or I know, like Jonathan's been, so the Brooklyn Law Startup Law Clinic, is that what it's, getting the law students out and working with local startups as part of their education is a great way for people to learn experientially, not just from listening.
Yeah, but I think one thing about entrepreneurship is, it's not a equivalence for startup. Increasingly, whatever type of organization you're in may require entrepreneurial skills. And very often large organizations really need entrepreneurial skills to deal with a rapidly changing environment. So when I think about this and when I try to do it in the classroom is think about tools that we can provide students. So if you take a PhD student who may be dead set on going into an academic career, one of the tools they need to understand is that managing a lab is like managing a small business. And they've got to understand budgeting, they've got to understand project management, they've got to understand managing the people in the lab and the hierarchy. And traditionally, those are not skills that, at least in the life sciences, were given much credence. Go to the bench and do your work and let me know how it's going. And so I think it's important in thinking about how to get students engaged in this is to make them understand that these tool sets can be a benefit to them in whatever environment they may end up in, whether that's a large company, whether it's a startup, or whether it's in their academic position.